Just waiting for Jim and Joe to give me some good news. It's 8 o'clock. Where are you guys? Waiting for my good news. Get your fat ass online already.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes.
It was a lieutenant. It was pass interference. I don't care what anybody says. That was pass interference, offensive pass interference.
Yeah.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
And you can win under pressure when it's there. You call runs when you're not supposed to, and Dak Prescott is throwing it in the dirt.
You know, I'm convinced that Jameis Winston is going to have an ESPN special 30 for 30.
All right, welcome everybody once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapito.
What's going on, Know-It-Alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go and talk some more football this week.
Oh, absolutely. It's been even a little bit, it's been quiet for a while, but
Pretty
even,
tame.
I think, well, the last couple days have been pretty insane. I mean, Aldrick Rojas, the kicker, my kicker from my New York Giants, one of the Pro Bowlers that we had, actually, and like some guy I thought that was had a level head here,
Right.
is getting a hit and run, driving around drunk 8 o'clock in L.A. in nude and full of blood. It's like, what is going on here? The world is upside
He's
down,
out of
Joe.
control for sure.
Here we go. I know.
Taking people out left and right with his vehicle
Yeah.
and going over like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He's out of control.
Yeah, and it
You got to
seems
reel
like
him back
my
in.
team-
Bring him
Oh,
back
I
to New
know.
York where he can't do that.
I don't know. It seems like a lot of players from my team this year are going off the deep end. A lot of issues here in New York. I don't get it. It's crazy. And speaking of New York, too, also, Jamal Adams now, it is official now. He is looking to seek another trade coming up this season, too. So will we see finally now maybe a holdout with him? What's going on with the Jets? We had talked about maybe things that they have done in the draft on defense could help them out, and maybe that would help him stick around. Not so sure now. You know, he's had a little Twitter battle with people out there with the Jets organization and fans and stuff. So he's had enough. So he's ready to get out. And will that create some opportunities? Will people want him, Jamal Adams? And what's the asking price here to get him out of there?
It's gonna be
because
hefty.
again, he wants to, wants a new deal. It's not working out. The Jets aren't going to pay him here. He still has 2 years left on his deal.
Right.
And, so it's either trade him. So what's the value going to be here for Jamal Adams? What would you guys want for your team? By the way, welcome once again to Football on the Know. Everybody here from Twitch here that's all along with us. We're streaming from Twitch our second week here, and also YouTube and Facebook. I appreciate everybody here joining us tonight here. And, Joe, so what do you say about the Jamal Adams situation?
Well, Jamal Adams, he's been very, adamant about getting a new deal done. He wants a big extension. He wants to be paid. He wants to get a raise just like anybody else at the end, towards the end of their contract. And he's made a strong push, and he's actually warned the Jets before he got to this juncture where he was like, you know what, now I want to be traded. He told them, hey, if we're not working on a deal, if we're not working on something to get it close to where I want it to be, and we're not going anywhere, we're not making any headway, then I want out. I want out of New York. I want to be traded to a different team where they're going to pay me the money that I'm expecting, or at least somewhere close to it, and I'll move on with my career. I don't want to stay in New York. If you guys don't want me that bad, and you don't want to go, up the ante with my contract discussions, then I want out. He's made it pretty clear cut and dry. That's really it. He wants a raise, wants to be paid like he believes he should be paid, and those demands are not being met at all. I mean, they've kind of feathered along with this negotiation. This kind of like, it's like a soft negotiation going on. Like, oh yeah, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. But there's nothing concrete going on. There's nothing close at all. I mean, the discussions have been really far away from both parties. Not even getting to narrow in on a number that comes close to what Jamal Adams and his agents are looking at. So he's made this demand now. Now, today was the day where he just got fed up. He wants to go. He wants to be traded now. He goes, you know what? You guys aren't doing anything to give me any confidence that going forward we're going to get a deal done, well, then I want out. I want to go to a different team, and then I'll get a deal elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. So that's something we're going to see moving forward. Now we're getting closer, possibly, to the season starting. We're going to see a little more activity, I think, with the NFL and headlines and things like that moving forward. But,
yes, sir.
We've been doing it the last, a month and a half or so. We got our biggest questions. We've been dealing with every division here. And this, coming in now this week, we are up to our AFC West's biggest questions here, Joe. And this involves one of your favorite teams here in the the Oakland Raiders here. And a lot of our fans out there and know-it-alls here, group members, they enjoy the Raiders too as well. So, but let's get right to it. Let's move in on the Denver Broncos here. Now, the biggest question here for the Denver Broncos is, can Drew Lock take the next step here? This is the solid question here with the Broncos. There are a lot of analysts out there that really favor the Broncos this season. They think they could possibly be a contender here with the Chiefs in this division and make their first playoff run since, what was it, Tebow possibly? I mean, it's been a while.
Right, exactly.
I'm saying it since they even went, no, it was actually when they had won the Super Bowl there with Peyton Manning. And will we see even that team as powerful as they were back then with that defense? And Von Miller, Von Miller just suffering from the coronavirus, getting well from that. And it's good to see that too, by the way, with Von Miller, because he has asthma and things like that. So it's good to see him bounce back from that. And it really didn't hurt him too badly. And but moving forward, Drew Lock here, we saw him a little bit last year here. When had the issues with the quarterback situation and Joe Flacco, he comes in, he's got 64% throwing percentage, completion percentage, ends up with 1,020 yards. The one thing is, you got 7 TDs and 3 picks. It's his first starts in here. Hopefully he can work them out here. The one issue, again, is Juwan James coming off of the season-ending knees situation. He tore a few ligaments in his knee last season. He only played about 3 games. It happened in the first game. And also they declined Garrett Bowles' fifth-year option here. So they have some issues there at tackle they can deal with. And they have a brand-new center here as Cushenberry here that they drafted in their 3rd round. So fresh offensive line there in center, but then also your tackles here in different situations. And again, no real hands-on practice. There's all this virtual stuff. Right,
that's going to be critical.
That means he also has 2 brand new wide receivers in the house, Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler here that they've got. So hasn't been able to develop a relationship with those guys yet. So let's see what happens moving forward with hopefully when they show up to these to the facilities, they can get some chemistry together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For Drew Lock, one thing is to remain healthy. He's got to stay on the football field for the Broncos, take that next little step in his development process. And what's going to help him is, thank God they got a decent center now. They drafted Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU in the 3rd round, which I was super high on. I love this kid. This kid is going to be great for the Denver Broncos. Holding it down at the center position. And you're right, Jim. When you look at the rest of that offensive line, you got Dalton Risner, who's been there before. He's a veteran there at the left guard spot. But those tackles are a big concern a little bit. Now, Juwan James, he's coming back from a major injury. How is his injury, how is his body going to react to now all of a sudden being thrust into play? And because of the recent pandemic that we've been dealing with, there's been a lot of virtual, practices, I guess you could call them, where it's more mental than anything. These players are being relied on to individually do their workouts and stay in shape. Now, the big question is, when these teams are able to come back together and do these practices, coaches are going to get a big time. They're gonna have their eyes on every single football player to say, hey, did you do your homework? Did you stay in shape the way you've always been trained? And for a lot of these young guys that are coming in, they don't know what to expect. How do they become a pro in the NFL? How do they keep their bodies in check? How do they work out? How do they eat? How do they diet? That type of thing. So a lot of this is going to be a huge learning curve for some of these young guys coming in. But for the vets, this is a very different way of they can't rely on these coaches for their knowledge and their workouts now. Now it's all on them. So for the first time, and I can't even remember, a lot of this is all on the players. And the coaches can they can do their virtual, meetings and so forth to try to work on the playbook. But it's going to be very different when these guys get together. We're going to get a glimpse. And I'm afraid, as a football fan, that when and if this season starts, are we going to see a lot of sloppy football? Are guys not going to be in shape for the season? And maybe the play on the football field, it will get better over time throughout the season. But in the very beginning, it could be sloppy because of these lack of reps that these teams are going to be able to get. But all in all, with the Denver Broncos, I really do love their weapons. I mean, I know they have a couple of young studs out of the draft. Jerry Jeudy, I was very high on. KJ Hamler was more like a sleeper to me, who I thought, the kid, if he can stay healthy, KJ Hamler has super quick feet. He runs phenomenal routes. If he can stay healthy, he could be a definite diamond in the rough for the Denver Broncos. But, yeah, all in all, I think that we already know that their defense is going to be good, right? I mean, we saw what they did last year under Vic Fangio, taking that defense on in his second year and just creating a nemesis on the football field defensively. So I don't think they lose anything really there besides maybe cornerback play. But
they did grab A.J. Bouye in a trade here with Jacksonville,
True.
so that'll help out there, I think, on the defensive end, where they were struggling, I think, last year.
Yeah, but here's the thing about A.J. Bouye. He's not as good as he was, in years past. And that's why you saw Jacksonville, they weren't very reluctant to let him go. They were okay with it. They were like, yeah, go ahead, go into free agency, see what happens. So that, to me, tells me that A.J. Bouye's lost a step. I don't know if he's going to be the same anymore. So Denver getting him, yeah, that's definitely going to help them because they had a lack of that position. But now you look at their defense, I think they're still going to be fine. They're still going to be solid. But offensively, that's where the critical thing is going to be. Can this offense as a whole, not just Drew Lock, but can this offense as a whole take that next step forward with these new young additions of weaponry in the receiving core, but also tight ends?
Yep,
You look at Noah Fant. Noah Fant, he's shown a little bit what he can do on the football field. He's another guy that's definitely got to take a huge step forward, I think, especially this year. And that was also a reason why they drafted in the fourth round a guy by the name of Albert Aquagbanam. Yeah, it's different. They like to call him. They like to call him Albert O because of that last name. But he's a very fast kid, much like Noah Fant, who also ran a 4.5 40 at his combine. You're tag teaming these two guys together. Maybe you see some double tight end sets to create mismatches there with both these guys. Albert being a very tall guy and Noah being just a very kind of stocky tight end. But, man, a lot of speed on the football field, so that's going to be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. Shout out to Cynthia Blair out there in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Cynthia?
Watching from Steventown with friends, football friends. Awesome. That's great. A pleasure having you here with us tonight. Yeah, and like you want to talk about offensive weapons, you also have the addition of Melvin Gordon here in the running back position on top of Royce Freeman and Philip Lindsay that they've had, which that kind of has been like a 1-2 punch with them. Lindsay getting most of the carries. It was funny because at one point we thought maybe Royce Freeman was going to be the guy. Lindsay shows through to be a guy. But then now the addition of Melvin Gordon in here, sprinkling in, I think it's a great little three-headed monster that they got going on here.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to divvy up these touches now because this is interesting. Royce Freeman, yeah, he was hurt his rookie year, didn't really play much, got a little bit of playing time last season, but really wasn't the focal point of this offense. It was all Philip Lindsay. So now you bring in a guy like Melvin Gordon who's going to demand touches. You didn't bring him in for nothing. But what it looks like to me is you're gonna tag him with Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon, which are kind of the same running back in some certain aspects. And Royce Freeman looks like he's going to be left out in the cold in terms of snaps.
Right, yeah, and Melvin Gordon, a guy who we're just a year away from trying to hold out for big money here from the Chargers.
Right,
and now he moves on to another team to where if you look at this team, you saw that they pretty much have their set running backs that they wanted. So to fit him on this team to where they were comfortable running the two backs, it's an interesting situation here for Melvin Gordon. Unless he just sees an opportunity that maybe he can take a starting role on this and can settle into like a 1-2 punch here, because it didn't seem he really wanted any of that though with the Chargers though. But
Right.
also you hear the disdain that he has had with that organization, and he's glad that he's moved on, much like other players from the Chargers situation. All right, moving on. Next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, the returning champions. Now, my question for them is, can they repeat now as Super Bowl champions? We haven't seen a back-to-back Super Bowl champion since the 2003-2004 New England Patriots, Joe. Now, do we see a franchise that can step up and be like the next Patriots, the next kind of what are they, like dynasty team, that
Right.
a lot of people are excited about the Kansas City Chiefs because, they've got a young quarterback here still. He's going to end up working his contract, though, pretty soon, so that will change some issues here with the team altogether.
Yeah, definitely.
But all in all, after this whole offseason, not a lot of turnaround. They've kept a lot of the same guys, and they've tried to help out this defense steadily here. So it has a lot of same weapons, so even with that offseason, without having his players in hand to throw and catch with and stuff, he already knows the guy. He already has his chemistry. He doesn't have to work on it, much like, say, Drew Lock here. He needs to run on some guys here.
Right.
So, Kansas City is still in a great situation here now. And this division, I think, is getting steadily better now. So how do you think the Super Bowl champs are going to stack up here, and do they have an opportunity to return?
I think any team that won a Super Bowl and they managed to keep their nucleus together always have a shot to return back to the big dance and try to win another championship. Although, even saying that, it is extremely hard to come back the very next season and repeat what you just did. I think it's going to be really hard for the Chiefs to do so, just like any other team, because now teams have scoped out your offense. Everybody is gunning for you. You're the top dog. Everybody wants to take you down, knock you off the cliff, and claim that spot for themselves. So, do I think it's possible? Absolutely. They didn't lose a lot. They managed to keep everybody intact, and they pretty much had the same roster. So, can they make it? Possibly, but it's such a battle to get to that position, and the Chiefs pulled it off last year. Can they do it again? I'm not so sure. I think there's going to be a lot more heat on the Chiefs, and defensive coordinators, defensive staff this whole offseason have been concentrating on trying to shut down this high-flying Chiefs offense, and I think you're going to see them kind of get stunted a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. And I know they got Tyreek Hill, and he's extremely fast and all these things, but listen, Patrick Mahomes, we've seen some defenses kind of get him confused a little bit, make him kind of rush a throw here and there, and throw his eyes off of where he's supposed to be looking. So, and playing with his brain there. So I think that you're going to see a lot of teams really kind of dive in on what makes Patrick Mahomes tick. And defensively, I think this Chiefs defense, we've seen them get better and better every week last season until right towards the end of the season. It seemed like they were a whole new defense. I do know that they were, desperately missing Juwan Thornhill in that back end with in the safety position with Tyrann Mathieu alongside him. They were great safeties to team up, but now he's coming back healthy this year. This defense, they got a lot going for them, especially in that front four. They're going to create a lot of havoc in the backfield. Offensively, listen, they got to prove themselves now because their offensive line, Mitchell Schwartz was a great addition for them a couple years ago in the free agent market. And these guys got to take another step forward because they did lose a couple of offensive linemen in the offseason. So let's see how that kind of percolates and see how well they do there in terms of protection.
The thing that I think is a kind of a wild card that they've gotten to, it's like where you see the rich get richer here. They are able to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire there in a running back situation. We saw what they were able to do with a 1-2 punch here in the back and with Damian Williams and so on. And they even have Elijah McGuire, which I'm really fond of too. He's looked really good, and the Jets let him walk away for some reason. I don't know why, but he's a nice little spot to have in the back. And now they get him in the draft too as well. So I think that's a great tandem that they have in the backfield along with the passing that game that they have still as well with Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill returning just like you said before, and Travis Kelce also there. And and also when you have Eric Bieniemy here, who is really sought out as a possible head coach candidate, still returning there as your offensive coordinator. Steve Spagnuolo with another year with this team, and surprisingly enough, he's got this team playing better than what they really look like on paper. In a sense, especially in that Super Bowl game, they were able to come back and hold the team off, the 49ers here, in order for the offense to get it going here, and Patrick Mahomes to lead a team back to a comeback. And I think one of the most important things, though, after this season coming through forward is Chris Jones here on the franchise tag. What's going to happen with him? So you've got to not only take care of him, but you got to take care of Patrick Mahomes here. So this could be a win-now situation here, and we'll see what happens moving forward. But what gets jumbled up here with all
but
this,
isn't that the
there's
problem?
a lot of stars here.
That's the problem right there. Chris Jones gonna want a big money contract. Patrick Mahomes looking to reset the market at the quarterback position with a $40 million a year type of contract, which is going to desperately eat into their future profits. Because here's the thing: is they're over the cap next year. They need to cut. They need to trim the fat before next season's cap hit. So. I don't know if they're going to be able to juggle this and try to get both these players. It looks to me like Chris Jones is on a kind of 1-year rental. Let's keep him together with this defense, and let's see if we can win another Super Bowl. Because after this year, I find it hard to believe that they're going to be able to manipulate the cap, cut down some salaries enough to get Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes and keep them on the same team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you're looking at the defense here. They've got Frank Clark here also on defense. I mean, a lot of players here that have really made it happen here for them. So, I mean, looking at the situation here, they do have a great shot here to take it back to the Super Bowl, but everybody is also really high on the Baltimore Ravens again, because when you saw the teams that could potentially beat them, they were the teams that were sought out at and talked about here, and the up-and-coming youthful quarterbacks here that are mobile that everybody likes so much nowadays.
And the one other thing that I'll say about this defense, too, is they got a little bit of a weakness at linebacker now. They don't have the same guys in place. They ended up picking up a couple of free agents. Damian Wilson comes over from the Dallas Cowboys. So, and he's never had a starting role yet. He's kind of penciled in right now as a starter. You really don't know what to expect with a guy like that. And then, was it Charvarius Ward? He's also from the Cowboys. So you're seeing a little bit of a connection there with the Cowboys bringing all these guys in. Anthony Hitchens, who's been there with the Chiefs, but he's an ex-Cowboy. So you see all these relationships are developing, and they're like, we'll bring in some talent from the Cowboys, and hopefully it works out. They did go ahead and they drafted a couple of linebackers, one in the second round and in the fourth round. I'm really high on the guy that they took in the second round, and Willie Gay, who is an extremely fast linebacker. Definitely could see him taking over one of those spots. But then again, he's unproven as well. So besides Anthony Hitchens, who's a veteran, it looks like they have a couple of holes in those outside linebacker spots, and that's another big question going into the season. So we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. But there's questions for everybody, I guess.
Don't be rude.
All right, moving on. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers here now. When will we see Justin Herbert now this season, Joe? Justin Herbert, they go and draft their quarterback here of the future. We've got Tyrod Taylor there, and they've said, Anthony Lynn said that he's comfortable in starting him, and that's why they're favorable to move on from Phillip Rivers. They really like what they want to do there.
Right.
Tyrod Taylor has been known to be pretty safe with the football. His turnover ratio, I think, was only interception ratio is 1.67, I think. And the one question mark here, though, with Tyrod Taylor is, what guy are you going to get? Are you going to get the guy from the Buffalo Bills who had, about 50 touchdowns here and 16 interceptions here and roughly almost 3,000 yards a year? Or are you going to get the guy that was more sitting back behind in Baltimore with he had only 3 touchdowns and 4 picks in that season, that he was able to play in some games here. I mean, you do have a revamped offensive line here. They've got Brian Bulaga here now from the from the Green Bay Packers. You got
Yep,
Mike
good
Pouncey and Trey Turner here now to help solidify here that offensive line. Is it going to help out here, especially if they want a more mobile quarterback, which we've heard from these guys that that's what they want to be able to do in Los Angeles. So will we even see Justin Herbert here? I think that all depends on what kind of Tyrod Taylor we get.
I think it doesn't matter, to be honest. I think when they took Justin Herbert, they have such confidence in the kid. I definitely think he could take over that job from Tyrod Taylor easily. We've all seen Tyrod Taylor. Yes, he is the insurance policy right now. There's no doubt about it. He's a veteran. He's been there. He's done that. Now, they don't have to feel like they have to rush Justin Herbert in. If they don't think he's ready, they'll just be like, that's all right. We'll put him off to the side for a year. He'll be able to learn under Tyrod Taylor and see how to become a pro. Do I think Tyrod Taylor could handle the starting job? Absolutely, because this offense fits Tyrod. And that's really what they're looking for. They're looking for that dual threat type of quarterback, a guy that is mobile but also can throw the football. And Tyrod Taylor allows them to give them that play on the football field, and that's what they're looking for. We've even heard rumors about the Chargers maybe inquiring about none other than Colin Kaepernick, and that got brought up, and they were basically saying like we would be interested, and not only that, but they do actually have a workout list that they've developed, and he's on that list. There's a possibility that the LA Chargers will bring in Colin Kaepernick and work him out to see where he's at. Now, personally, as a football fan, I'm okay with it if it was 4 or 5 years ago, but let's face it, Colin Kaepernick has been out of the NFL for years now. It's not like he's still young in his prime. He's been out of the football for about a couple years, and you could bring him back in and be pretty confident in his ability. I question it. He's an older quarterback who's been out of the league for several years. Now, would any team, realistically, would you want to bring in a guy like that who's been away from the game, hasn't been through practices anymore, doesn't work out as far as football, to get in football shape and so forth? So you got to wonder, will his body hold up at all if you bring a guy in like that? It seems like too much work you're going to have to put in, too much investment to put it in to get it all to work. And for how long? A season? Maybe 2? So, that to me is a little far-fetched. But all in all, I definitely do think that Tyrod Taylor could handle the job. I think with Herbert, it's his job to claim if it's not too big for him. If he can get the playbook down, I definitely think you'll see Justin Herbert take that job over.
All right, we've got Greg Schreiner in the house here, Joe. Greg Schreiner's
What's going
in the
on,
house.
Greg?
He says, I think we're going to see Tyrod from Buffalo. It's not going to be good, though, so we'll see the next guy up halfway through the season. So that's what he's saying. Halfway point, we'll see maybe Justin Herbert.
Again, he is the insurance policy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I don't think I see what Greg's saying there, but they're not going to throw Herbert in because Tyrod Taylor's doing bad. They're just not going to. They're not going to rush their quarterback in. And now, if they're not confident in Justin early on, but then as the season progresses and he's starting to get it down, I think we're ready to put him in. If Tyrod Taylor fails, then I could see him making the move, and that's probably what Greg's saying right there.
It is pointless to resist.
The one thing here, too, you're saying, I think what it is he's already been with this organization already, so he already knows the players and things like that, and that's the comfort zone that you want.
Well, he knows the playbook.
Before everything. He knows the playbook,
That's
too,
the
as well.
thing.
That's what I mean. You're there. Now, let me touch on something with the Colin Kaepernick thing here quick. Now, you're saying, he's been away from the game, stuff like that. Now, let's throw the situation to where Mike Vick, he had got in trouble with the betting on the dog fighting and all this stuff. He went away to prison for a few years and then was able to come back into the NFL and still been productive and actually played pretty well with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, how
and
long
kind of
was
revamped
that,
his
though?
career. How long was he out?
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
okay with that.
Yeah, it's fairly close. What?
But Kaepernick's been out
for
longer than that.
3 years?
Oh, longer than that.
Has it been 3 or 4? I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's just tough because you've seen guys that have left that have been able to come back and be able to be productive. So, I think Colin Kaepernick possibly could be able to, but the only thing is that we still have lingering that we remember was he wasn't playing too well here with the 49ers here. That's why he was ended up getting benched by Blaine Gabbert. And also the fact that we don't even hear from him right now. Does he even want to play? Even with all this talk that's going around about him that he should get a job, he's staying silent. Why doesn't somebody go and just ask him straight up then? Get some answers. Instead of we're talking and debating all this stuff, why doesn't somebody go and talk to him and ask him straight up, do you want to play? And this and this.
So
why don't we just get that information
Just so we know, I just looked it up. He's been out for 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. But how old is he now? 32?
He is 32 years old.
And Mike Vick was, what, 30 maybe? 30 then he came back or something like that? So maybe
Somewhere
years
around there.
younger then. So I don't know. It's just tough. It's something similar, I'd say, that, is where he's been out and then able to come back. Now, would he be productive enough? I think Mike Vick was already a tried true starter, though, too, as well. Back with the Atlanta Falcons.
He's been
so,
exactly.
Again, it's debatable what you're thinking.
I mean, here's the thing too about Colin. I mean, let's just say what it is. We've seen Colin play in his prime, and yeah, he was great. He was a great mobile quarterback, but could he really make all the throws? No, he was more of a dart thrower, much like Vic, but he has struggled with his decision making at times, making those touch throws down the football field, and that's really what's going to hold him back. So I just think that with his age, with being out for 4 years, I just don't think teams are, and I could be wrong, but I just don't think teams are willing to make that investment. And for if it's a short-term thing, which is what it is, for a year, maybe 2 years, like, are you really going to make that big investment in hopes that he can start? Because it looks more like anything he'll just be a backup. I just think it's going to be too much investment for any team that is interested.
Now, taking a look here now at the Los Angeles Chargers on their defense, I think is
pretty good, huh?
Spot. This is where they've This is where they've got to step up here and be better because at times last season, all we knew is that Derwin James was trying to do everything for him. And for the answer here, with a corner, they grab Chris Harris, who is a veteran still. I think his better days are already past him here. So, I mean, I'm not impressed with that pickup here.
If he stays healthy,
if he stays healthy, yeah,
that's always the question,
here too.
right?
But I mean, I like what they've got with Linval Joseph, getting him from Minnesota up here on the front lines here with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram there also, and on the front lines here, adding pressure. And also Casey Hayward here I like too as well. So let's see what they do with the defensive side. Can they get back to a stronger defensive unit and hold off some of these other teams and be able to get that offense up and putting up points? Because that's where we saw last year they weren't able to. And when it came into crunch positions, that's why I think they're going with someone like Tyrod Taylor. And Phillip Rivers was throwing too many picks in crucial situations where they couldn't get back into games, and it was just a game changer.
Yeah, and that's where you really saw this defense kind of slide a little bit, is because the offense really wasn't getting it done, week in and week out. The defenses were on the football field way too much for the Chargers, and that's why you started to see, like, if you're looking at stats, you saw a little dip in production there on the defensive side of the football. I think it's going to be a much different scenario this year. Yeah, Phillip Rivers isn't there. Tyrod Taylor is. Their offense is going to change a little bit because now with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert, whoever starts, they're both mobile guys. They're both guys that can make the throws that they need them to make. So I think this offense is going to get a little bit more of a spice in it. You know what I mean? It's going to be a little bit more lively, a little bit more creative than what Charger fans are used to seeing, and it's going to play out big time for them. Now, you mentioned, like, when we were talking about the Broncos, Melvin Gordon left this team. Some people might be in panic mode because Gordon left, but I wouldn't be. Austin Eckler, who is now going to be your starter, is more than capable of delivering production every single week. You don't have to be worried about that. He can do everything out of the backfield that the Chargers are looking for. And defensively, like Jim was mentioning, he rambled off some names there, but a name that I am a huge fan of coming out of the draft in the first round is Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma. I had him as my number one middle linebacker coming out, and oh my God, the Chargers did trade back into the lower first round for him, but well-deserved. Great move by the Chargers, as much as that kills me to say, because I wanted them on the Raiders. But they snuck back into the first round, grabbed a stud, I think, in Kenneth Murray for years to come. And with this evolution of this team, as they kind of put brick by brick together, this defense is slowly building like a top 10, top 5 type of defense. Now, can the offense match up with the defense is the big question. new quarterback in Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert, whoever that is, offensive line spiced up a little bit with some veteran leadership. And their weapons are still much the same with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who I thought Mike Williams was going to take a step forward last year, and in my opinion, I just didn't see that extra step. Good player, but when you drafted a guy in the first round in 2017 draft, I thought you were getting a much better guy to this point, and he hasn't shown me anything. So it's still really on Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry. To come in at tight end. So I feel like these guys are going to move him around in terms of throwing to these offensive weapons here that they have, just like they've been doing. But really, it's going to come down to this defense and this offense kind of teaming up together as a complete team and trying to prove a lot of the doubters wrong.
Absolutely. Just 2 years removed from a 12-4 season and in the playoffs, just going down to the New England Patriots. Yeah. So they've been there before, and they still have a lot of the same guys in the unit. They're looking to retool and go while having, getting another quarterback in the position here. So they're in a great spot. Now if Justin Herbert can be a nice fit with them and work out, they're, on the up-and-coming possibly here.
And I would agree with that. I would say this. If Justin Herbert can manage to win this job, if he gains the confidence from his teammates, from his coaching staff, that they're like, we have no worries about this kid. He knows the playbook inside and out. He's developed great chemistry with everybody. He deserves the job. If he gets this starting job and has complete confidence, I would watch out for this team. I know it's his rookie year. He's going to make mistakes. Every rookie does. But I think that the future will be bright for the Chargers.
All right. That's right. Now moving on finally to the Las Vegas Raiders here. I almost said Oakland. Las Vegas Raiders here. Can the defense step up against the pass now? This is my big question here for the Raiders, because this is the problem that has been facing these guys. Everybody wants to talk about the Derek Carr. Is he going to hold on to his job to Marcus Mariota? Are they going to put him in just because Marcus Mariota, I think his contract's like $17.6 million or something like that for 2 years, so that's a little hefty for a backup. Is he going to press him there? They love the RPOs. All right, I don't want to hear any of that crap. I think Derek Carr played well last year. Again, he was put in situations to where they were really dumb in the red zone. I saw him. It was a lot of games they marched down there, and there was just wasted play call after wasted play call, and then finally you're stuck in a third and outside of goal now because you've gotten pushed back, and then you're screwed. You know what I mean? So where they weren't
field goal.
Their red zone percentage was horrible. It was putrid. And if you look at the defensive side, this is where nobody's talking about here. They were 32nd in red zone defense here. And also against the pass. You want to talk about the pass. They were 32nd against the yards and 30th in scoring. So, I mean, there's your situation right there. You know what I mean? And turnovers, they're 31st. So, I mean, if you're looking at this is what your rankings are. You guys can't force turnovers like some of the other teams out there. They're able to put up points with their defense. Giving up the yardage in the air, how are you going to expect it to win games? Especially when, your star player here, Josh Jacobs, you got to try and run him out there. A running back, and then your only great wide receiver is your tight end in Waller. You know what I'm saying? Best scoring opportunity. So I think this year they really need to concentrate on defense. Gunther has his job really cut out for him. But on offense, it's great that they got Ruggs here. Maybe they got an over-the-top explosive player to help get those points right back quickly. What do you think, Joe?
You know what? I mean, here's the other thing, too, is this team overall was banged up. So you could say, like, maybe Darren Waller was their best player, which he was. But a lot of the guys that were, as a wide receiver, Tyrell Williams was definitely hindered by a bad foot injury on both feet. And he was still trying to play with it. Yeah. So do I think that Tyrell Williams is much better than that? Yes, I absolutely do. He's proven it early in the season. But without Tyrell Williams being injured and then Hunter Renfrow being injured and knocked out for the end of the season, that dramatically hindered a team that had no weapons, really. They were limited. They were playing with a lot of their younger players, and when they got hurt and knocked down, what was Derek Carr supposed to do? So, and just like you brought up with the red zone being so terrible, their red zone scoring, a lot of people aren't pointing the finger at who it really is about. It's not Carr. It's John Gruden, everybody. Gruden is the one that kind of goes into a shell when he gets into the red zone. He doesn't take those chances anymore. He isn't aggressive in his play calling to get that end zone score and make it happen. Throw the ball in there. Instead, he gets too complacent, turns into a shell, and he just starts handing the ball off when they need to make. You need to run a regular NFL offense when you're in there. You can't be passive. You got to be aggressive, and you got to take your shots when they're there. So, Ken Gruden, this is my biggest question for the Raiders. Can Gruden get out of his shell when they're in the red zone and attack the defenses and not kind of just, we're just going to run it into the line 3 times and then kick a field goal. But a big thing for them was weapons. They didn't have any. But now you look at this roster, and they do have some young blood in there with Henry Ruggs. We all know how fast the guy is. Let's see if he can develop as a receiver in the NFL because a lot of these rookies, none of them has taken a snap on the football field, and we're all kind of like, oh, Henry Ruggs, one of the fastest guys. He's going to be amazing. We don't know that. Let's wait and see. Yes, I've seen everybody's highlight reel coming out of college. I have. Yeah, and they're impressive. But when you're jumping into the NFL, let's see if they can hammer down the playbook. Let's see if they can gain knowledge mentally and develop their own craft coming into this and prove everybody wrong. But now that they have Tyrone Williams, they got Hunter Renfrow back. They got Ruggs, who looks like a young up and coming player, and then just like you mentioned, Darren Waller, one of the most amazing tight ends last year, kind of splashing onto the scene and making a name for himself. He looks very impressive. Let's see if he can duplicate or come close to that this season. Their offensive line, very solid. They bring back Richie Incognito, so there's a lot to like there. There's consistency. Derek Carr, take another step forward. I mean, there's a lot to like with Carr. I mean, I know there's a lot of doubters out there, but guy had like 70.2% completion percentage, which is second or third in the league last year. He threw for over 4,000 yards, had 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So if you're thinking that he's the issue on the offense, I don't know. The numbers say otherwise, and I do believe in Derek Carr going forward. And then defensively, another big question that Jim had. Paul Guenther at defensive coordinator. I don't think he's the guy. He's not the D coordinator that the Raiders need. He's got a lot of young talent to mold and try to develop into this defensive core that he's got going. But here's the other thing is their big question, too, is also cornerback. So have they done enough at that cornerback position? They drafted the heck out of prospects in Damon Arnett, hoping that he can develop into that starting corner opposite guy like Trayvon Mullen. And they have a lot of young talent to work with here. Also, what was a big, talk of the town for the Las Vegas Raiders is their free agency moves in terms of linebackers. Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski. Those are 2 big names that the Raiders went aggressively after to really kind of nail down this linebacking core. So there's a lot to like with the defensive line. Very young. Everybody's young on that side. Let's see if they can. Paul Guenther can actually change up the game on that side of the ball and make this defense, top 15, top 20. I'll settle for top 20 at this point. Make them a lot better going forward. If he doesn't now, just saying, they hired Rod Marinelli as a D-line coach, and they didn't hire Rod Marinelli as a D-line coach just to be D-line. He's more of an insurance policy. If Guenther fails this year, I definitely see around the bye week, at the bye week, Guenther looks like he might be shipped out, and Rod Marinelli will step in as D coordinator halfway through the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the fact that they got Zay Jones there too in the offensive position too with the wide receivers because we saw him finally kind of take a step forward here at Buffalo. I was waiting for him to do something here. It didn't really happen. Then he showed us some signs here. What was it with KC? And now he's here with the Raiders. So now, like you said, if they go down again, they've got a little more depth here, which is great. I think Jason Witten, they just grabbed him as just like a coaching role in a sense, but also
And to catch 2-yard passes.
Yeah, he can get the up underneath, on the out routes here and there for a ton. He's kind of shown he can just still be kind of productive here. But like you said too, the addition with Corey Littleton on defense, Max Crosby to come back with another great season, Cleveland Farrell to take a step forward, Prince Amukamara, a guy who was basically ready to retire last year, comes back with Chicago, plays again, does fairly well again, and enough to earn a starting spot here with the Raiders here.
We'll see who ends up with that spot.
Yeah, because last year it looked like they were just struggling so badly, and then when they went and traded away Garrett Conley, I was kind of like, what are you guys doing? Because he was kind of like the bright spot that you guys
That was
had
a
for your
great
team.
trade.
You know what I mean? But they did make out in the
That
trade.
was a great
so
trade.
that's what happens when you see some of these teams where players get or fans get upset where they trade their players away. You want to be able to get the best value you can to help your team overall in this type of situation. Who knows? The Jets might be facing that right now with Jamal Adams. See what they could get for him. But unfortunately, when teams openly know that the player does not want to be there, that kind of hurts your value in being able to trade a guy away.
Right.
So, I mean, that's always tough there on trying to get good value there with the Jets. We'll see moving forward. But the Raiders, again, I think they take a step up here. And it all depends on defense here because I think the Gruden will try and steady the ship here too. Will there be headlines against Derek Carr? I think there will, just because I think media loves these kind of stories. They want to be against people. Right now it's Baker Mayfield. All arrows are pointed at Baker Mayfield right now too. The media hates him. They don't want him to be the starter in Cleveland anymore. They want to see it turned up. They want to see Cam Newton over there. They want to see Kaepernick over there. They want to see him turned in and out for some reason. But
it's because he doesn't give them a time of day. He does not bow down to the media whatsoever, and they don't like that.
Absolutely. So I mean, it will be interesting moving forward to see what happens with them coming in too.
Do you think? Real quick question:
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that Prince Amukamara, because of his age, he doesn't have top flight speed anymore? Do you think he could be possibly moved into the slot like a nickel corner?
I would like that.
Maybe.
I think he'd be a better situation right now.
And the only reason why I bring that up is because with the draft pick of Damon Arnett, which a lot of people did not foresee that happening in the first round, him being that pick there. But with guys like that and a sleeper like Amik Robertson, who they got in the fourth round, those guys could probably step up and take over. One of those guys could take over that spot.
So who do you
Mullen.
like in that spot maybe of that, like, say, nickel corner? Do you like LaMarcus Joyner or do you like Prince Amukamara better?
I mean,
both.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing: is me personally, when you look at that, the safeties that are there, John Abraham, he was injured in the first game last year, so we didn't really get to see too much of him. He looks like he's definitely a for sure starter. They picked up Demarius Randall, which was an interesting move at safety, kind of like a duct tape type guy, like he's going to be there just for like a year or so. And the other thing too is to watch is. I would be curious now if they played a little bit of musical chairs here. A lot of these younger corners that no one's really heard about, they drafted Arnett, big name, he's out there. But there's other cornerbacks on this list that could demand, starting ability. Isaiah Johnson, who was drafted last year in the fourth round, would have pushed. They're saying coming out of Las Vegas, he would have pushed for a starting job last year had he not get injured. But he's another player, didn't get to play, was injured all year. Now he's returning this year. So there's a lot of youth at that cornerback position. Now, who's going to win that job? That's where the competition is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Do I think they should move LaMarcus Joyner back to safety where he originally was with the Rams.
Yeah.
And then maybe move a guy like Amukamara to nickel corner
Right.
and let these young guys,
I agree with that, too.
young kids fight it out.
Yeah, because I loved Joyner at safety, especially in stopping the run. That guy had the vision just to jump right on top of that, to see the play right there and jump right in there and make the play happen. I really like LaMarcus Joyner there in the safety.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
this division is going to be fun
one.
to watch. I know that.
It's going to be better. I think it's going to be exciting to watch once it gets started. But, I mean, this season, again, is going to get pushed back a little bit. We know with COVID-19, people are starting to finally get back into the gears now and focusing on COVID-19 again because it's still there. We didn't forget about it. It's still going on.
It's not gone yet.
And moving forward, are they going to have a delayed start? How's that going to affect teams? They are now thinking about with the practice squads and things like that and the now suited players, adding more, there too, in case players come down with the sickness and things like that, and they can put in other active players here so they don't lose out. Because what happens if a team gets overrun with it, they can't just eliminate the team. We're seeing the Dallas Cowboys, the Houston Texans now developing issues, and
it's going to be expected.
Zeke Elliott's come out that has COVID-19 now too, so we'll see what happens with that.
It's going to continue because some of these players, maybe they have not even realized it. Maybe they, they said some people it affects everybody differently. So if you have if you don't normally get sick or something and your immune system is through the roof and you just conquer whatever sickness that you develop, sometimes you don't even notice it. So some of these players, they might be showing up saying, I had no idea I had COVID, and they're testing positive. And Roger Goodell made an announcement saying that he will not be surprised. Every single team is going to have some players that might test positive, and they're just going to have to go through the procedures and protocols and deal with it when it comes. And it's happening right before our eyes. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my main man Raider Bear from Raider Bear Live. Raider fans, if you're watching, make sure you check this guy out. His Raider show is amazing. Raider Bear Live. Go ahead, search him up on Facebook. He does a phenomenal job covering the Raiders. Love that guy. And another thing is Mike Tackett is watching right now. Really appreciate you, Mike Tackett. I wish you were here earlier, man. We could have really, kind of bounced some ideas off.
You can still talk
here.
right now. It's open forum right now. We just finished up the AFC West biggest questions here. So if you guys got something out there, lay it on us.
As you speak, Raider Bear answers. He says, Isaiah Johnson, freak athlete. He's loved by other players on the squad from just a handful of scrimmages last year. Before he broke his orbital bone, he will start across from Trayvon Mullen, Raider Bear, and he says, book it. So there, Raider Bear's given his insight. He believes that Isaiah Johnson will be the starter opposite Trayvon Mullen. I'm interested to see the competition there because that's what Gruden loves to create. Loves to create competition for every position, and I think that's going to be one of those intriguing competitions for that cornerback spot, that for sure. And Raider Bear, you know what? He could very well be.
There you go. Yeah. So dropping some knowledge here with the Oakland Raiders. Oh, I just said it. See, I just screwed it up.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We have time to get used to that.
Yeah, I do. I do. I can't believe I didn't screw up the first time. But the Las Vegas Raiders there. So, yeah. So moving forward, there's a lot of situations going on. And Joe, what do you think about the? I saw a couple of prototypes for helmets now to deal with the COVID-19 situation. How do you feel about possibly changing the helmet style and making a full mask here for the players, so that would help safety there because of the close proximity amongst each other and the direct contact with each other?
I think it'll be interesting.
It looks pretty wild. Listen, I think I kind of like them, but I mean, it's interesting.
They got to do a lot the I'll just say that. They better do a lot of testing, make sure that those helmets are secure, that they're not going to break, that, the impact that can they withstand the collisions, time and time again. So there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to test. And, just like anything new, there's going to be some bugs in it. So if they can get all that ironed out, then I think things will be okay. I think they might go that way, but I don't know if you want to change too much.
Definitely. Mike Tackett's in the house here, too. He's also coming up with questions about the Oakland Raiders.
What's going on, Mike?
The Las Vegas Raiders. Another happy Thursday, guys. I think Prince Amukamara will excel in Oakland because he can play zone in the slot. There you go. We were just talking about that. I mean, you look how effective Richard Sherman is in zone coverage, and we know how much Joe loves Richard Sherman.
Torch him.
Yeah, there you go.
Richard Sherman gets torched. Yeah, that's what he does.
He does.
Listen, Richard Sherman's great on press coverage. He's great on that short yardage. But if you get a fast receiver on that boy, woo, DK Metcalf ate him alive. So you watch out. Those speedsters will get him.
Yeah, there you go. Now, also, I wanted to ask Raider Bear about the
say it with some enthusiasm, please. When you say Raider Bear, you got to go Raider Bear.
The Raider Bear.
There you go.
Oh, I kind of did Chris Berman.
I like it.
I don't do it very good. I have to figure it out.
That's fine.
Wow. But his take now on because everybody wants to bring up our question here was, can the defense step up to help out the offense here this year? Everybody else wants to talk about Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota. Now, do you think there is really, truly a situation there to where they are battling out for starting positions here? Or do you think the biggest question that really does face your Raiders team, is it the defense here? Let you stew on that a little bit and give us an answer. In the meantime, we're going to go to our In the Know fact of the day, Joe. Here we go. Because we were talking about the AFC West here, I decided to bring up the Denver Broncos here. On August 5th, 1967, the Denver Broncos became the first AFL team to beat an NFL team when they defeated the Detroit Lions 13-7. It was the first of 16 AFL NFL preseason games that year. So there you go. Some knowledge about the first AFL team to beat an NFL team, and it was the Denver Broncos.
Right.
Mike
Tackett, he just commented back. He said, "Sorry for the Oakland jab, Joe.
He had to do it. He had to do it. Definitely. You know what I mean?
It's all good.
It happens, Joe. Yeah, we
good.
never get to do the jabs on the Oakland Raiders so much. You know what I'm saying?
I know they're not the worst team anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Who is the worst team you think in the NFL right now?
I mean,
that's tough. There's a
look
question
at
right there.
Who
right?
drafted high?
Well, what? Who's grabbed
Cincinnati
first? The
Bengals?
Cincinnati Bengals? Yeah.
That's legitimate. They're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's the thing.
That's true. I
Here's
think
the
maybe
thing.
even Washington's there too.
That's what makes the Bengals interesting to me is they're not terrible because they have no talent at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interesting thing is like their defense. They have some nice young pieces on that defense that we were 2 years ago. We were talking about how much they're aging and they need to really rebuild that defense. And it seems like they did on the cornerback positions, but. That interior of the defensive line, they still love to keep those veteran guys in check with Geno Atkins and Michael Johnson and we're going to forget the other D end. But nonetheless, and it's working in a sense. But the linebackers still need work. You look at the offense, that they're starting to rebuild now. They got a new quarterback. But when you get a new quarterback, I don't care if you're picking first overall or you pick later in the draft and you take your guy at quarterback, there's going to be growing pains. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joe Burrow is not going to be right away, is not going to be the next Peyton Manning. He's not going to be the next great quarterback. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be Russell Wilson, So you might have to temper your expectations now. Can he develop in the next year or 2 or 3? Absolutely. Then he could maybe become a really good quarterback to great quarterback. But you got to temper your expectations. They're a team that's still on that rebuild. A.J. Green, he can't wait to get out of there. He got locked up in
oh, yeah, I know.
He's like, he got cuffed, and now he ain't going nowhere. He's stuck in Cincinnati jail right now. When he was all excited to possibly leave, not so much. So that's a team that's they're going through their rebuild. The Miami Dolphins, as much as a lot of people pick on them, they're still rebuilding. They're not a complete team anywhere close to be. What we got? We got Raider Bear just commented.
Yep. He's got it here.
The defense must gel. The addition of Rod Marinelli is meant to add a better communicator. Gruden thinks Paul Gunther hasn't won over the players. You could see it on the field for sure, Raider Bear. The offense by week 6 will be scary as we can attack every level, but our defense must be top 20 or better for us to have a successful season. And I agree with you, because we were just kind of talking about that. They got to be anywhere top 20, top 15 would be nice, but baby steps, I guess, right?
Yeah, I was rattling off their red zone defense was horrible again, and also against the pass and the turnover ratio. Being able to force turnovers on defense, that's a key there too, as well as when you're facing some of these other teams.
I'll just settle for them to go make teams go 3 and out. I don't care about turnovers as long as you can stop that team from getting to the 50-yard line. I'll be happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been excited even for the Raiders because, Joe, I ended up having a dream about
What'd you have a dream?
Josh Jacobs blew off this big run, and then I don't know why. I don't know why I dreamt about this, but all of a sudden I woke up and I was like, "What was that? Why did I just dream that?"
I just had a premonition.
I don't know what it was. I saw the handoff, and then and I was like, "Did that happen this past season?" I'm like, "I don't know why I just dreamt
for sure."
That. I'm like, maybe it's an omen.
It could be,
Joe. Who knows? Never know.
He did it last year, so maybe you're just you're kind of reinventing.
I don't know. That's why I got to get back into the winning ways here again this season too with our picks. I'm excited. A lot of stuff going forward. We thank everybody for joining us here tonight.
Sure.
Also on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch as well, and Next week, we are going to get into a little thing. We're going to have some fun. We're going to look at the 2017 first round. You want to do the first and second rounds maybe too? Because there were some good players in the second
Depends
round.
how long you want
Depends
the
how
show
long
to
it
go.
goes. We're going to look at the 2017 first round, all 32 picks here, and we're going to give them a pass or fail grade on here. It's really exciting because we should go with 2017 because it takes just about 3 years for a player really to see what they are, to develop. And there's a lot of key players in there that are really either on the up and coming right now this season, really showing
Or they're
up,
just not worth it.
Or, maybe it's time for them to shut down. So a lot of questions going on there moving forward. That's something exciting we want to get
fun.
into.
And you know
also,
what? And that's the thing. A lot of people, they give out these grades for these players that even just got drafted. I mean, literally like minutes, hours right after the draft got done this past draft. They're already grading these draft picks. They're already grading these players, saying, "Oh, well, that's a terrible pick. That's a great pick." How do you know? These guys haven't even stepped on the football field. They haven't proven anything. What you can tell is we can throw it back a couple years, and now we can really give an astute grade. That is we can talk about the player saying, "Well, he's okay, but is it worth that pick? Maybe not."
All that, also the NFC West here, their biggest questions. Before we get going, we have Mike Tackett in the house. He says, why isn't anyone talking about Josh Jacobs? Best running back in the AFC West by far, and has a bright future ahead of him. That run game alone will keep opposing offenses off the field. The best defense is a clock-chewing offense. And I agree with that, too. And maybe that's why I had the dream. I don't know what it was, because I know how impressive Josh Jacobs is. And I saw that, and I was just when we were talking about the Raiders tonight, I was just loving it. I was jealous about it, I think, even sometimes, because I wish my team would run like that.
Well, you got
so well
Saquon
sometimes.
Barkley.
I got
And
Saquon Barkley.
He's really
He's
good.
also got a, definitely so. There you go, Raider
Appreciate
Bear.
you,
shared,
Raider Bear.
enjoyed. Thank you so much, Raider
Much
Bear.
love, man.
We appreciate you. One of the only guys that we actually share his show on our group
On our
page
group
and stuff
page,
like
yeah.
that, just because we enjoy what he does, and he's very knowledgeable and
for
passionate
sure.
about his team. Clinton Lawrence and
Oh,
Raider
there
Nation
we go.
in the house there
Raider
too.
Nation.
So he shared it here. So he's got some other
Like
guys
it.
in here. So I guess I'll bring it back up here. We'll just return back to this. Let's see what people think here. Just in case now that we have some more Raider fans up in here, we asked the question here. The biggest questions for the Raiders here. Now, can the defense step up against the pass? That's what I think is the biggest question that faces the Raiders. Now, some of the Raiders fans out there that just joined us. Now, do you agree with this question? And you think so? What's your take on it? Also, do you have any other questions that you think that are more important with the Raiders, or something else that's an issue that you would like to see fixed this upcoming season?
Maybe even just tell us, what you are expecting from the Raiders this upcoming season. Anything, share your opinion. Feel free, share your opinion. Even ask a question that you have on your mind. Whatever.
Absolutely. We went through the whole AFC West this episode.
This is going to be an interesting division for one, and for two, I'm interested to see, because all these teams in this division got a little bit better.
I think so.
Maybe not the Chiefs so much, because it looks like to me like they're pretty much the same. But they did draft Saint Hilaire from LSU. I don't know how well that's going to play out.
All right. A lot of people saying hi and stuff like that.
All right,
Hello
all
from
right.
South Carolina. We see that. Thank you. I appreciate
on,
you guys
Manuel?
joining in here. My Bear is loading you up on Raider Bear family.
All
Oh, wow.
right.
Awesome.
Nice.
Right now we've got all
Appreciate
this Raider
that.
stuff going on.
Appreciate
all right.
that.
So we covered the AFC West. We went through the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. We asked the biggest questions facing them. I am not excited about the Broncos. A lot of people are high on the Broncos train, thinking that they're going to step up and be a
Right.
contender in this division. I just don't see it. I mean, I see what they tried to do a little bit on defense here.
For sure.
They grabbed Melvin Gordon, in the offseason.
That's
I
nice.
understand that too. But Drew Lock, a guy coming in here with not a lot of play time to just take over the reins and be able to step up, especially when he hasn't been being able to practice with his two wide receivers he just picked up in the
Right.
draft. So, I mean, that's very important. You got to gel. You got to get chemistry with you guys together. And to be able to play in this tough division, again, where you got to play the Chiefs twice, then you got to play the Raiders twice, then you got to play the Chargers,
Chargers.
same thing twice. It's going to be tough to be able to make the playoffs after that, especially with the AFC alone, the talent that's in this conference. is going to be ridiculous. Yes, there's another team that's going to be able to jump into the playoffs, get another wild card spot. But we've seen teams here that have a winning record, in the teens. They will get their opportunity. And I don't see the Broncos getting over 10 wins. I just don't see that this season.
Right.
So what do you guys think?
Yeah. So Raider Bear, he just came in. He just commented Broncos left tackle is weak.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what we were talking about.
100%. We were talking about that when we were on the Broncos. And you know what that means, Raider fans? Guys like Max Crosby, guy like Clone Ferrell. Those guys are going to eat in the backfield. They are coming after Drew Lock. So Raider fans they're absolutely going to love that part. Watching Drew Lock run for his life because they didn't really address the tackle needs there. And John Elway, he puts a feather in his cap and says, "Hey, you know what? We got Melvin Gordon though. We can run the ball. I think." You can't if you don't have blocking, numbnuts. That's the problem. This guy, here's the problem with Elway. He doesn't even deserve to still be the GM. How does this guy still have any kind of a hold on this franchise and is still the GM for Denver?
Nice job, dumbass.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He still hasn't found a franchise quarterback, and he's been there for how long? And he used to play the position. It just doesn't look very good for Denver.
Yeah, that should be the question facing the Broncos. Like, when is
why is he
John
still
Elway
there?
moving forward? After this, is it going to be gone finally? Who knows? Clinton Lawrence jumps in the house. He says that, let's give him the DJ horn here. Let's welcome properly here. Clinton Lawrence, I think it's time for Carr to take the Raiders to a 10-win season. Finally has good young weapons around him. Defense is a good blend of young and vet players. Need to have a good season at our new home. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be important.
I think
they need to, and I think the NFL even wants that too.
For sure.
Brand new stadium up in there. They want them to be successful here in Las Vegas. Is how you pronounce this. Oh, Furl. Yeah, Cleveland Furl, right? Is that what I said? Cleveland Furl. All right, I'm not sure. All right, there you go. Emmanuel helps us out here.
Appreciate that.
Patrick Gonzalez Bug. Denver has not upgraded their scheme. There you go, too. That's
True.
the thing, too. It's, plus.
Well, and here's the thing is when you look at their coaching staff, you got Vic Fangio as their head coach, defensive-minded guy.
Yep.
He's been always a phenomenal D coordinator in the league. And what do you think you're going to get with a guy who's so vastly, immersed into the defensive play calling? For your offense, you're going to get a guy that he kind of brings in and hopes that offense is going to be, creative and up to date, and that's really the problem there. Is he doesn't have a great offensive coordinator to take over that team and to make it as good as it possibly could be.
Yeah, definitely moving forward there with the Broncos. I don't see it.
Appreciate
I don't know
the
where
comment,
some of these
Patrick.
guys say. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to look at the Chargers here, their big question is their quarterback situation. Is Tyrod Taylor going to be able to lead this team back to the playoffs? They were just, again, 2 years removed. They went 12-4. And there it was. Did they make it to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots? I know they were close. They were maybe the divisional playoff right before them. I think that's what it was. And they've moved on from Philip Rivers. Rivers going to the Colts now, and I think the Colts are going to be a tough team in this AFC conference too. So you've got them to deal with. And also here now you've got Tyrod Taylor taking over the helm. We've seen that where he hasn't been exactly a turnover machine, but again, he hasn't been tried and true as a real starter. We got to see it for Buffalo for a few years, but they moved on from him, obviously, to get Josh Allen up in the mix. So now you're going to expect to take this team and take them to the next step. So Robert Hansen, what up, Jimmy? Much love. Oh, excellent. Robert, in the house. Nice to have you in here. There you go. I believe that if we are not 3-2 or better by the break, Carr gets benched. That's what Manuel D. Severio says.
I don't think you're going to see that.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Here's the thing: is the only way I feel that Carr is going to be benched per se or whatnot. It's got to be an injury. I just don't think you're not going to hand over the reins for this offense for Marcus Mariota to come in as a new quarterback to the system. He's got to learn a lot in this playbook. You know, Gruden demands a lot of his quarterbacks, and I don't see him coming in his first year trying to learn this playbook and know it like the back of his hand. Listen, Carr's a very, very smart quarterback, and it took him 2 good years to learn this like the back of his hand. So definitely don't see them kind of making a hasty decision and making that change. If there's an injury, then obviously you're forced to make that change with Mariota. But I don't see it happening unless Carr gets injured.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, but it's tough because you know what? One thing you have to debate is the money that's there, and I think after 2020 they might be off the hook where it's not going to hurt them with the cap. So that if they felt that Mariota might be a better fit for their offense, he's a little cheaper and they'll be able to make the switch there. That's the only way I see it makes sense, but I don't believe in Mariota's ability really that much.
But I mean, appreciate
again,
the comment, Manuel.
Yeah,
really
definitely appreciate your guys' comments.
This is nice for me.
There you go, right?
There's a lot of Raider brotherly love going on right here. We're talking about the Raiders.
Absolutely.
Watch out. You might be swallowed by the black hole, Jim.
Yeah, who knows?
Just
yeah,
our whole
not.
show's
Yeah,
going.
I'm not sure. Yeah, who knows? But I don't know. That's it for us, though. Agreed. Good point here. Patrick Gonzalez says here he agrees
Appreciate
there.
that.
So that's it for our show, though, tonight. We're going to wrap it up. We've been going here for a little while, but you can check us out. We usually do every Wednesday nights. Lately, because of scheduling issues, we have been doing Thursday nights, but 8 o'clock Eastern. We appreciate you guys joining in with us. We talk NFL all teams. We appreciate our love here with the Raider Bear family and stuff like that. We appreciate all you guys and all the comments. Just keep them coming, and hopefully we'll see you guys join us again next time. King Eddie Willis
what's up,
is
King?
in the house here, Joe. Here, bring it up. What is
He goes,
King Eddie
I think
have
number
to say?
8, Marcus Mariota, is going to push number 4, Derek Carr, to Pro Bowl quarterback status. And, and that's the thing that we talked briefly about is that Gruden loves what? He loves quarterback. He loves competition for every position. And that's what they've done. They've created competition at every level to get the best out of each player. So I do agree with that. I think Derek Carr now isn't going to be as relaxed or comfortable knowing that it's just him. Now he actually does have some legitimate competition with Marcus Mariota there. So, and I think he's going to feel maybe a little bit of pressure, and he's going to perform at a higher level. So,
I agree.
And he did great. He did great last season. He did. I don't know where all this media is coming from saying, oh, well, he's the problem. He's the question. We'll see how it plays out. But Gruden does need to get a little bit more aggressive in his play calling when they're in the red zone for sure. I'm sorry. They don't have a problem moving up and down the field. But red zone, they just happen to falter. They run the ball too much. Don't do nothing.
Absolutely. So next week we will be doing the NFC West biggest questions and also our
But
fact
much
of the
love,
day.
Raider Bear. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raider Bear fans, that you've joined our show and kind of spiced this up a little bit with some Raider love here, and much appreciated. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go over to our YouTube channel, look up Football on the No Show, subscribe to us, hit the notification bell for our latest and greatest updated content. Also, we're also on Twitter at FB_no. Go ahead and hit us up on there, and you can just see here we're on Facebook as well. But thank you, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and hope to see you next week.
Sounds good. See you.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.